The Chicago Bears have hired a new offensive line coach, and his name is Chris Morgan, formerly from the Pittsburgh Steelers, the assistant offensive line coach there. He will now be the Chicago Bears' main offensive line coach. What's going on, guys? I'm back with the Chicago Bears update videos. Like I mentioned, there's going to be a lot of these in the coming days, talking about all the changes the Bears make in the front office and on the staff. And today, I'll be talking about the offensive line coach, which we just hired a few hours ago. And to be honest, guys, a lot of the people that we're hiring now, I'm having to do a lot of research into because I haven't heard about these people prior to the Bears hiring him, right? Like, I don't know in-depth info about every single assistant coach there is in the NFL. So, Chris Morgan, I had not heard about him prior to the Bears hiring him, but doing some research into him, looking at his background, what he's worked with, what he's done in the past, and looking at the reaction among the Bears community, this seems like, a pretty high upside hire, okay? Again, like with every hire, we don't know if it's going to be a good hire until the games actually start. But I am pretty optimistic for this hire based on some of the stuff I've been reading. So if you look at Chris Morgan, he's been an offensive line coach for 13 years in the NFL. He started out with the Raiders for a couple of years. He was an assistant offensive line coach there. Then he moved to the Washington football team, 2 years, there. And then he was with the Seahawks in 2014 until he got a promotion to head offensive line coach with the Atlanta Falcons, where he spent 6 years as the offensive line coach in Atlanta. And guys, they had some great offensive linemen there, okay? Obviously, the 2016 offensive line helped the Falcons reach the Super Bowl, okay? They had the best offense in the NFL based on points per game, and the offensive line was a big part of that success. Now, the end of his tenure with Atlanta didn't go the best, though, so he moved on to the Steelers after that to be the assistant offensive line coach in 2021. And like you guys know, the Steelers' offensive line wasn't great at all in 2021, but lack of talent, definitely did play into that as well. So did Ben Roethlisberger being extremely immobile. So on paper, it seemed like his time with the Steelers didn't go too well, but Mike Tomlin actually wanted to promote him to offensive line coordinator right before the Bears hired him to be their offensive line coach. So clearly Mike Tomlin saw something in Chris Morgan to want to keep him on the staff, but the Bears hired him away before the Steelers could keep him. So decent amount of experience coaching in this league, some successes, some failures as well. But overall, I think it's a good fit with the Bears because he's had a lot of experience working in the Shanahan type of offense, which is presumably what Luke Getsy is going to incorporate into his own offense. Chris Morgan worked 3 years under Mike Shanahan in Washington. He also worked 2 years under Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta, including going to the Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator. So his style of, building offensive linemen would fit in really well with what Luke Getsy wants to run here in Chicago. Okay, his offensive line is going to require a lot of athletic and physical guys up front, which is what the Kyle Shanahan offense is. Okay, if you look at guys like Trent Williams, that dude can run all over the field. He's one of the faster offensive linemen, and he's still a freaking bully at the line of scrimmage. So I'm guessing the shift in philosophy is also going to require a complete change of the offensive line personnel. Obviously, guys like Tevin Jenkins, Larry Borom are staying because they show potential and also because they're draft picks, okay, on rookie contracts. So there's no way that Larry Borom and Tevin Jenkins, are leaving the Bears. But aside from those two, I could see pretty much anyone else on the chopping block. Okay, maybe James Daniels doesn't come back. Actually, James Daniels might be a candidate to come back because he is kind of more athletic, more mobile than, a lot of guards are in the NFL. So maybe James Daniels comes back, but Cody Whitehair, I don't know if he's staying. Sam Mustipher, for sure, I don't think he's staying. And we could also get more depth on the offensive line. Maybe get a new left tackle and then put, Tevin Jenkins at right tackle. There's a ton of different possibilities we could look at to reshape our offensive line because change is definitely needed. Okay, General Manager Ryan Poles talked about this in his press conference. He talked about how he expects better play up front, and what he saw last year on tape wasn't good enough at all. So, I could see a bunch of people on the offensive line switching around, maybe leaving the Bears. So there's going to be new personnel for Chris Morgan to work with, and I think he can do a pretty good job with them. Okay, if you look at what people have to say about Chris Morgan, people that know more about, what type of coach he is, they have said that his lines and hog mollies have always been nasty. You're not touching the quarterback without getting jumped. If that's actually true, if he's actually molding men into being those type of people, nasty physical people for our offensive line, I would absolutely love this hire, okay? Because we need more of that on our offensive line. It seemed like Tevin Jenkins was the only one that showed any type of fight against opposing players. If you guys remember the game against the Vikings last year on Monday Night Football, Justin Fields was getting cheap shotted all night long by the Vikings defense, and Tevin Jenkins was the only one that actually showed the fight to get into a Vikings player's face and fight back, okay, to tell them that that's not okay. You can't hit our quarterback like that. So getting more guys like Tevin Jenkins, guys that actually want to stand up for their quarterback, that are going to jump the opposing players if they dare cheap shot our quarterback. I love to see that mentality return to the Bears offensive line because we haven't had that in a long time here in Chicago. So that's pretty much all the information I have on this hire. Not too much info because I couldn't find a lot of in-depth stuff, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Okay, we'll wait and see how our offensive line does under Chris Morgan. It seems like the personnel is going to change, the scheme is going to change, so we'll see how it fits in. But right now, I think it's a pretty good hire. So let me know your thoughts down below about this, but as always, guys, bear down.